Hello and welcome. I'm going to sit here for just a minute before I get started. You're watching the Astro Recap with Jennifer Rose. If you're here, hello. Thank you, thank you, thank you for joining. In a minute, I'm going to start talking about some transits from last week as far as astrology goes and how they mix with current events. Astrology. Did I mention that I'm an amateur astrologer? I don't see anyone here yet, but I'm trying to figure out how it is that I put my big 3 on my photo here. But I'm not finding that just yet, and I'm not sure if anyone's here with me right now. So I am going to chill out. I will state this now. I will probably not be looking at the chat. I'm so very nervous to do this show, and it's going to take a whole lot of energy to do that. And I don't know that I can do that in the chat right now. So this is my very first show. So thank you so much for tuning in with me. I'm trying to figure out how to put my big 3 down here on my captions. Maybe it is I just get in there, but no. All right, I'm going to go ahead and start here, okay? I am going to be reading from my phone here. This is the best way that I could get some notes in. So hopefully this all works out for the best here. Just let me know if for some reason you can't see me, but I can see myself over here in a little circle. And thank you for joining. Anyway, what do Bernie Sanders, the Met Gala, and the Leo Moon have in common this week? You're about to find out. I'm Jennifer Rose, your amateur Astro Recapper, and this is the Astro Recap. I am offering a quick dive into the astrology behind this week's biggest headlines, from fashion statements to the Pope. I connect the stars to the stories shaping our world. And I want to say again that I am an amateur astrologer. So the Astro Recap, this show here, is part of a full circle astrology experience, hopefully to work with my other show, Astro Insights Live. So on Sunday morning, I co-host a show called Astro Insights Live with my wife, Melrose, the astrologer. We talk about next week, so the upcoming week's astrology. We talk about current events. We give some astrology predictions based on, the astrology transits, and then we round it out with a tarot card reading. So this is my very first time at doing a show like this or even talking about astrology. So I'm very, very nervous, and I appreciate you hanging in here with me. But this has been a very interesting week in the news, and it was very difficult for me to narrow down what it is that I wanted to talk about with these transits. So in true Libra fashion, or whatever it is, I get very nervous when I get on the camera. And so I procrastinated getting my notes together for this. So like the beginning of the week is pretty, hearty with information, and the rest of the week, not so much. I'm just being honest, and I'll grow as I get used to being here and talking with you about astrology. So just have your patience with me. So full circle astrology experience tomorrow, 10 a.m. Watch Astro Insights Live with myself and my wife, Melrose. We'll talk about next week's astrology. And then Saturday at 3 p.m. Central Standard Time, next Saturday, I will recap last week, and I will not next week actually see this next. I'm going to get that confused a little bit, so just bear with me. So Astro Insights goes a week ahead. In the recap, we talk about the week that we just talked about, so we can go full circle with this. Okay. All right. So hopefully by offering these two together, it will be just kind of a grounding experience to try to figure out this full circle and how we move forward energetically. Okay. If you're here, thank you so much. I appreciate you. Do not forget to subscribe to the channel. We're always adding new shows and trying to figure out what it is that we love, that we want to share with you, that you may love. And we're always willing to hear from you. Click that bell because I like to do spells. I like to do love spells, full moon spells, and I don't like to just plan that. That kind of ruins the energy. So if you'd like to see when that happens, click that notification bell, and it helps our channel out a lot. We're getting really close to 1,000 subscribers, and I'm hoping to get there real soon so we can continue sharing all this information with you and learning about our astrology and learning about you as well, and just being in the community as best we can. Thank you so much. All right, so let's get into the astrology that's been stirring up everybody's emotions. Okay, so we have all week, we have the sun in Taurus. It's Taurus season. Okay, Taurus is very grounding. Taurus is I just got a little nervous. Taurus is a grounding feeling. My dad was a Taurus, so I kept thinking about what aspects my dad had. He really liked nice food and nice things. He liked to dress nice, and he liked to have the better quality things, if you will, even if it meant, like going a little bit in debt, like robbing Peter to pay Paul. So we have a Taurus sun all week. I'll just say, so if I just start talking about sun transits, then you'll know that we're talking about Taurus. All right. And then starting the week, Sunday, I'm going to go back to Sunday, May the 4th. We have the sun in Taurus. All right. We have the sun in Taurus and the moon in Libra, and that happened early in the morning Pacific Standard Time. Okay. So we have our emotional expression with the Leo moon and Leos, our loyal, self-confident, love to shine. They're the sun, this might clash with that very practical Taurus vibe, that Taurus right now is really calling for us to be a little bit more grounded, especially in, our finances and in our home, and making sure that we have those things that we need: a roof over our head, shoes on our feet, albeit maybe a little bit nicer, like maybe we go to the nicer thrift stores to get it right, because that's cool. But, so this might clash that emotional expression that Leo is kind of writhing about with right now. Okay. And so, it's May the 4th, Sunday, May the 4th, and Trump released his Luke Skywalker AI. And this is not uncommon for Trump to do this. I think he has a sense of humor, and I think it's taken whatever, but I think that's his way of having a sense of humor. And, I used to play with Face on the Hole a lot when I first figured that out. And I haven't really played with AI a lot right now, but, I get it. He's sold, pictures of himself and what have you, and that's fine. But he did that whole, thing of himself as Luke Skywalker on May the 4th. And Trump has a Leo rising, so he really loves to be seen, like obviously he just loves it. And it is just so natural for him to be in front of a bunch of people, and the more people that there is there, he just shines. Okay, so Trump is a Leo rising, and he has Mars and Pluto in Leo. So for me, Pluto in Leo right now too. I'm not sure what Pluto's doing. But for me, Pluto and Leo, with that Leo rising, I mean, it's a little bit of just kind of fuck around and find out. And I think that there's a little bit of feeling with Donald Trump right now, like not everything has gone his way. And I know that he's pissed off about a few things, and I understand that. And so, Leo moons, they want to be recognized, they want to be seen. So he needs to, put himself out in front of a bunch of people so he can feel like himself, so he can build that confidence again. He's been, dealt a few blows. So, he put that Skywalker AI out there, and I think that's really par for the course there for the Leo rising person in the sun in Taurus and moon in Leo. Okay. And then, let's see here. He on social media, he did a social media post where he's saying that he wants to open up and rebuild Alcatraz. And I have a screenshot that I want to read of what he said, just so I can, these are in quotes, and I think this is from True Social. So it says, For too long, America has been plagued by vicious, violent, and repeat criminal offenders, the dregs of society who will never contribute anything other than misery and suffering. When we are a more serious nation in times past, we did not hesitate to lock up the most dangerous criminals and keep them far away from anyone that could harm. That's the way it's supposed to be. That is why today, he said, I'm directing the Bureau of Prisons together with the Department of Justice, FBI, and Homeland Security to reopen a substantially enlarged and rebuilt Alcatraz to house America's most ruthless and violent offenders. So, I think this is, like, of course it's politics, like this is what he wants. I think that he's running out of room and he doesn't want, people to see. And I think that he wants to keep, the immigration in, he wants to keep that law and order idea, still in the picture because he's still trying to put that together in some kind of way in his, way, shape, or form. And he still wants to get a spotlight on that information. He can't let that go. And he's also just trying to find a way where he can make himself feel a little bit better right now. Like he's had some bad news about him about, I mean, the numbers, the low ratings and everything. And I don't know that I've heard him. I don't follow him around, on social media or anything like that. But, like hearing those numbers, I haven't heard him really say anything except for maybe blame Biden for it. But that doesn't mean he's not feeling anything about it. So he really needed some light on him on Sunday. So he made himself into Luke Skywalker. And maybe it made him feel a little bit more strong in that way and a little bit more powerful. I'm not sure. And then once we're talking about, Taurus sun craves stability and Leo pushes ego, right? So I didn't say the word ego there with Donald Trump. I think it's quite obvious and like it's in the way that he uses his ego and how much sun he needs to put on that. Okay. We all have our way, shape, or forms of doing that. And one might say that me sitting here is my ego doing it, but I'm scared. I'm very nervous to do that. So thanks for letting me ramble about this stuff. But okay, so Taurus craves the stability and Leo pushes the ego. And that's a little bit of a clash, and this is a clash in how politicians are handling our economic policies. And so this is going to the Fight the Oligarchy tour. So on Sunday, May the 4th, there was Senator Bernie Sanders and Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, AOC, continued their nationwide tour advocating against corporate influence in politics. Their rally is in Lehigh, Pennsylvania, drew large crowds, highlighting the public's demand for change and the tension between the established power structures and grassroots movements. So that's, again, like challenging that Leo and Taurus. It's kind of like, your Leo moon, it wants and wants and wants, like, so for instance, there are a lot of people who will, I don't know, hoard pets, but will have a lot of pets because they just want and want and want, and it makes them feel better. Wow, I just got some energy. I'm sorry. I'm also a psychic and it's really quiet in the house. And then I just had someone say hi. So hi. Anyway, so the big crowds and just kind of highlighting these structures that no longer work, like that Taurus practicality, like, hey, we all need to have a living wage. Hey, we all need to have a roof over our head. Hey, we all need to have shoes on our feet. Hey, we all need to have food to eat. And that is a basic human right. And so, that emotional Leo moon and that Taurus practicality is just really showing up here, in both the Democrat stream and the Republican stream, especially on Sunday, May the 4th. May the 4th be with you. So I'm going to move on to Monday, May the 5th. And we still have that sun square moon. So sun in Taurus, moon in Leo vibe. And so we had the Met Gala red carpet. And again, I guess we're, still talking about, we're just talking about that attention seeking. I don't like to say that, but it's true. It's attention seeking no matter what it is. And, that Leo energy with the glamour as well at the Met Gala. And so the Leo moon loves attention. And so I chose I think one little skirmish that was happening there was about Sabrina Carpenter's outfit. And I guess Sabrina Carpenter said that it was Pharrell who designed it. And he said something along the lines of, you're quite short, so no pants for you. Like they're telling people not to wear pants. And I believe that Cardi B wore pants. I mean, she looked awesome. She had some kind of a green outfit on. I haven't looked closely at the Met Gala yet, but I will, because I love fashion. I'm a Libra sun and I love everything about fashion. That would be a dream to go to the Met Gala or just be anywhere close to there, honestly. And I love Cardi B style. Like, I love it. Meg Thee Stallion and Janelle Monáe got my attention like big time. Like, that was the first thing I saw when I got on social media. And that was just amazing. And she's just really, in another dimension. I love that. I'm in Kansas City, Missouri, and she's from Kansas. And, I feel that Midwest vibe, and then the Midwest vibe with the Pope, right? So it's just kind of like, I've got a lot of energy here. So that was really kind of the vibe on Monday, May the 5th, with that Leo energy. And I think I actually have something more about Monday the 5th with that energy, but I know that I have, I know that I talked a lot about in my notes here about the new pope. That's obviously the biggest thing that we can talk about, even astrology wise. Like, so we had a Leo moon. It was as if the universe was already, talking about him, Pope Leo. So Pope Leo is a Virgo rising, Virgo moon. And I didn't check today to see if anybody had found out what time it was that he was born. So we don't have his rising sign right now. So he's a double Virgo. And I have a Venus in Virgo, and it's very difficult for me to take just a few bits of information because there's so much that happened last week. But it was quite obvious to me, that the Pope was a pretty big deal. And I believe that on Monday, the folks were, the cardinals and everything were getting together and they were having a prayer. And, I just kept hearing, like, it's as if they were already talking about him. And I have to say, because if I don't remember to say it, I'll be upset with myself. But I watched him come out, and prior to him come out of the Vatican, and that sun was shining so much. It was just like a Leo sun. It was like, it was as if, like Francis was there, first of all, and then second of all, like the Leo sun, like that sun was coming through some of that architecture and just beaming out. And my TV was showing rainbows. And so I feel like that was just really the universe. That was really Francis. That was really, that was really everybody's energy just going, yes, we've chosen someone. And that was pretty magical with that. So I just wanted to say I saw that, and that is pretty spiritual. And I am not a practicing Catholic. I was born and raised Catholic in some ways, and I live in a really Catholic area. So being an empath, I could feel everyone. I could feel the tension. I could feel the sadness. I could feel the happiness now. And I can also see in my community that everybody's moving about now. They're out celebrating. All the restaurants are full. So I like that, because we're just going to move forward. But I have my issues with the Catholic Church, unfortunately. I think it's probably quite obvious to you. And I'm hoping that one day while I'm still alive, I'll be able to partake in church again and feel like I'm completely and totally whole there. And so I put that on Pope Leo the 14th. So we have Leo, Virgo, Midwest guy. So I'm really excited to see how that plays into the fact that I'm a Midwest person. Okay. And the new Pope in this energy, the sun. So the Catholic Church is basically a Taurus archetype. It's centuries old. It's built on structure, wealth, and sacred stability. So this transit with the Taurus and the Leo is just like really on brand for these things to be happening, right? So Let's see. Sorry, I am looking at my notes and I appreciate you. This is the very first time that I've done this. I'm a very amateur astrologer and I'm really interested in current events and astrology as well. So thank you for hanging in there while I look at my notes and I procrastinated. So let's see here. All right. Moon and Leo, you know, it wants to shine. It wants ceremony and attention and a look at me energy. And that's exactly what we got all week. It started with Trump and it ended with the Pope. And then we had some other things that was like, look at me energy. And it doesn't have to be look at me. It's kind of like sort of like, can I have a witness? We were all witnessing different things at that time, right? And so, yes. Let me see if I can find my Wednesday here. A new Pope was elected this week under a source. Okay. Here we go. Sun and Taurus, values, tradition, leadership, grounded in stability. The church is an ancient institution of that. And the moon in Leo, royalty, spotlight, and ceremonial grandeur. I don't know what else you could say more about the Catholic Church. It's one of the things that I like. I kind of like their pomp and circumstance. I kind of like that a little bit. And then, we're going to hit a Scorpio moon. So I know I have more to say about this, but somehow, recap on Wednesday. Somehow I do not have my notes in proper order and I'm so scared now. So the Pope, right. What a big shift though, right? Like what a big shift. So for me, I'm just to give you an idea about, like in your personal life, what this may manifest for you, this Taurus and Leo moon stuff. Like, so maybe it is that you want to be seen, you want to be heard, you want to be witnessed. And maybe it is that you need a little bit more love from your partner, or maybe it is that you want a few more likes on your pictures. So you're dressing differently, or you're, handling yourself differently, or you're getting, a haircut. I don't know. But for me, it's about trying to find the next place that I'm going to live, and not just the next place I'm going to live, but how I'm going to afford it, the finances, paying off debts, and trying to figure out where I want to live for the next 20 years, where I want to call home for the next 20 years. And I'm 52. So that's pretty, so my Venus and Virgo, I have to think about everything. I've already had one knee replacement. I think about another one. And so this has been big themes of Pentacles, your health, wealth, finances, the things that you, your health, so I've been to a lot of doctors. I've made a lot of doctor's appointments. I've had a lot of tests. So this is how this is kind of manifesting for me. Okay. And for me, because I have heart disease in my family, that Leo moon, it's just about, keeping it light, not being too anxious about things. And I had a couple of flare-ups last week that, were just kind of, I don't know, it was kind of a weird Neptune fog, like just kind of the universe going, I think it was Mercury. I have Mercury in Scorpio, and we have a Scorpio full moon. So I think that was just kind of a little tap, tap, tap. So these are the themes that are going on in my world as far as, like a Taurus and Leo moon happening. And then we're going from Leo to Virgo. So now Virgo moon, I think, was on Wednesday, probably, I think. Let me see. That is when the Pope was announced. Sun, Trine, Moon, Square, Jupiter. I have everything but the moon. Oh, right. The moon conjunct Chiron. That's another thing, a lot of healing and self-reflection. I think that the Pope really has, I don't know. I think that he's really self-reflecting about some things, and he's going to be thinking differently about some things now that he's in this position. And I hope that he'll keep his ears open to every one of us and not just some of us. And I think that he will. Y'all, I'm so sorry that I'm not more organized, and I promise next week I will be more organized about this astrology. But for some reason, after I worked so hard on all of my Wednesday notes about the Pope, because I've been following it here on our YouTube channel. So I'm just going to go on to Thursday, because I've already been rambling for 23 minutes. And I'm going to go on to Thursday's astrology and talk about what is going on Thursday. And I'm talking about a Mars and Leo on Thursday. So I think that I said that Donald Trump has I think he has Mars and Pluto. Wait, he has Pluto and Leo, and he has a Leo rising. And on Thursday, he says, I'm here to, he said, I am hereby declaring, well, actually, he said this on Monday, May 5th, about Thursday, May 8th. I am hereby declaring a national holiday in celebration of victories of World War I, where the armistice was signed on November 11th, 1918, and World War II, where the victory date was May 8th, 1945, he said. He also said that he wants to call May 8th a victory day for World War I, when the latter coinciding with the federally recognized Veterans Day holiday. And he put that in a post on social media. And so I think that, again, will show, let's see. So by the time we get to Thursday, see, that's that Mars and Leo, just like pushing that forward, like pushing your agenda forward, pushing that information forward, doing what it is that you want to do, doing what it is that gets you recognition, doing what it is so you can be seen. This is what happened on Thursday. And then on Friday, let's see here. Okay, so Friday, this was definitely I think this has to do with the astrology of Pluto retrograde in Aquarius. Okay, Pluto began its retrograde in Aquarius on May the 4th, which was Sunday, and it will continue until October 13th, 2025. And this is about just really, really getting deep with it, right? Like really deep introspection, reassessing your own personal power, what you have control of, and how it is that you can use that personal power to transform. So I'm using my personal power to transform, some of my bad habits and some of my addictions. And that's what I know that I need to move forward. This is what I've been working on and him hauling around about. And now it's finally time. Like, I really feel like it's time that wheel is pushing forward for me. Okay. And so, deep introspection, reassessment of personal power, control, and transformations. So this is when people will feel like on Friday, maybe you felt like, let's see, how do I put this? Confronting your hidden fears. Okay. And I have a really good analogy for this. And let go of outdated patterns. Okay. So what the heck happened on Friday with Pluto retrograde in Aquarius? How are we letting go of outdated patterns and hidden fears? How does that manifest? Well, the mayor of Newark, New Jersey was arrested at a U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement detention center while visiting a facility with members of the New Jersey's congressional delegation. And I'm sorry I'm talking so fast. I'm nervous. Mayor Raz Baraka was taken into custody Friday at Delaney Hall in Newark, which quietly started housing migrants detained by ICE this month. So, Trump had said, he wants to reopen Alcatraz. And, if you put people out there on an island and then you have it guarded where nobody can get to it, then nobody knows what the hell is going on in there, right? And what the problem is that he doesn't want people to see what's going on in the prisons or how these people are being treated. I feel like, he doesn't want to be seen as Biden. There's just like this constant comparison to Biden. And I think that because, Biden had the separation of families, I think, or Trump, or both of them, all of them, all of them have all this stuff happening. And I think that he would prefer them to these people are, a lot of them are citizens, into jails. So the astrology there is really transformative and disruptive. And fortunately for Pluto retrograde in Aquarius here, what happened is that he was let loose. And I really believe that had that been a little different, had they detained him a little longer or something, I think that would have been a bigger spark in us revolting against some people. This stuff is getting a little bit frightening when you're being arrested for your free speech, no matter what side you're on. As an American citizen, we should not be arrested for our free speech. And I stand by that. We cannot be arrested for that if you're no. So anyway, so that was how, to me, Pluto retrograde in Aquarius, knowing your personal power, knowing what your control is. I think that the release of Maya Baraka is what showed that Pluto retrograde. And um, I also think that there's some way that the mayor is facing some fears, like maybe there's some fears of what might happen. Like maybe it is that he was really concerned about being arrested, and he was. But then, the structure kind of fell apart where normally he might have been held. He's not a white person, and the rules are different. So, but this was a very interesting, Friday for all of that. So anyway, I did follow the Pope around, and I wish that I had my notes. I must have accidentally done something with them, or I just can't find them because I'm really, really nervous. But I do want to talk about Mercury conjunct Chiron. So this is a lot of healing going on, and there's some energy floating through back from October, November of last year, and I've been healing. I have a Chiron in Aries, and it's time for me to do some really deep introspective healing. My Mercury is in Scorpio, and we're getting ready to have a Scorpio full moon. So I think that this is going to be the end of a couple of cycles. I went through a couple of eclipses where I've been doing some integration and some healing, and now I think that we're going to go ahead and do this full circle, like we're wanting to do the full circle astrology, so we can have a whole picture of what that is. And now I can take myself forward, and I can take my healed self into the community and do a better job. So the Mercury conjunct Chiron in Aries, it brings up past wounds related to communication or self-expression. I started thinking about all the times where I got in trouble for speaking my mind, or for saying something that was true when it wasn't, or not keeping my parents' secrets when I was supposed to, or, that kind of thing. And, on that day, I don't know, I just really thought about talking in a different tone to myself, just being a little bit kinder to myself, and having, just a real honest dialogue with myself about who I am. And I want to go back to Friday's rough stuff here. I'm sorry, I'm going to go back because I wanted to remember to talk about this. But so on Friday, where we were talking about, let's see, what is this? Oh, well, this might be my Chiron in Aries, but I had just some strange things happen to me. Mercury in Scorpio is what it was, actually. It kind of dragged up an old memory that I had forgotten about. Okay. So I had this weird text message, and it looked like it disappeared. And some people will do tracers, okay, like debt collectors, what have you. And, I have nobody that should be out there looking for me whatsoever. Okay. So I had a weird text message come, and it disappeared. I couldn't see it anymore on my phone. And then, like, 20 minutes later, I was like, that text message disappeared. And I was like, ugh, and so then, like, 15 minutes later, I got another message. I got a text message from that same number, and they had sent me a picture. And it looked like the picture was like of somebody's front door. And it was definitely like from somebody's passenger seat, took a picture of the front door. And even though I do believe that this was a wrong number situation, it made me think about a couple of things that had happened to me before that I didn't think about. Number one, I lived in a household where things were repossessed all the time. So sometimes we were having to hide from, people repossessing things. And they would do really weird things. We were also evicted before, and I've been evicted before as an adult, and not for any fault of my own, but just for being who I am in the world. And so it made me really think about all of that stuff. Like, this person is like, hey, I know where you live, even though it's not where I lived, and I couldn't tell what state it was in. I could see license plate, but I couldn't see the state. And then a little bit later, that person was just like, oh, hey, I was just letting you know which parking spaces I wanted. Well, there were cars parked in there, but that was a picture of the front of a door. And I was just like, okay, that was a wrong number. But it also brought up some past stuff for me that I really needed to, like, acknowledge and just let go of. I didn't even know that I had anxiety surrounding it. So Scorpio will dig it up. And in order to dig it up and feel it and transform it, we just grow a new seed from that. So I'm really glad to know that those triggers are there and that those memories were there and that I could integrate them back. I could put them back in the dirt as something else. So I feel like that was, and that happened to me Friday. I felt like a super paranoid person, but it was just so strange the way the universe did that. Like all of that happened. And I talked to my housemates and told them like, hey, like I'm not wanted by anybody. So if somebody comes here and says they're here for me, like you tell them you don't, that I'm not here or something, give them my phone number and see what's happening, And right after that, I came back inside and I heard the doorbell ring. It was just like that kind of day, like ding dong. If you're not, taking care of your stuff, it's going to come after you. Like resistance is persistence, right? So I believe that's Pluto retrograde in Aquarius being highlighted there. And we're going to have that kind of stuff going on October 13th until October 13th of 2025, which is only 5 days before my birthday. And I'm so excited that I personally am getting my first astrology reading, besides from my wife, from Wise Ass Astrology, from Andy from Wise Ass Astrology on Monday on the full moon, when I've had this culmination and I'm going full circle here and taking that Scorpio full moon and pushing forward, like we're really pushing forward with a new start. And to know a few things more about my astrology chart is going to be fantastic. And maybe I'll share that with you all. I don't know. Sometimes I don't know how to put things into words. So, thank you so much for being here for my very disjointed first episode of the Astro Recap with Jennifer Rose. I want to remind you that this is a full circle kind of astrology that we're trying out. My wife, Melanie Rose, does astrology every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 7 a.m. here on our channel. So if you haven't subscribed, please do. We throw up spells every now and then, so you might click that notification bell. And tomorrow we'll be doing Astro Insights live at 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. We do that every Sunday, and what we do is we talk about the week ahead. And then on Saturday, I talk about the week that we just discussed in the episode tomorrow on Saturday. So we can have a full circle. Okay. So I'm really interested in current events, and I'm really interested in what you have to say about this new format, what I can add to it to make it, I don't know, more interesting. I know I can speak better and all that kind of stuff, but what kind of content would you like to see about astrology and current events? Like I'm really led to doing music. I love music, so I'll probably talk about music and what's happening in music, as well as, like politics, like we're living in historical times. So this is fun. And the reason why I'm doing the Astro Recap is just to put myself out there so I can learn astrology. Learning my own personal astrology chart is my goal. But as I've learned my own astrology chart, I've felt more seen and more understood. Like I understand myself so much more than I ever have going through any kind of other program or therapy or anything. It's really been eye-opening for me. So I hope that if you're interested in astrology, you will, have a reading by someone who does that, or at least, pick up astrology and figure it out for yourself. Okay. Some of my favorite astrologers are Nadia Shah, Chani Nicholas. Those are two that I watch all the time. I love Ann Ortley because she talks about current events. She's been doing this for a very, very long time. And so she has witnessed, the transits over and over again. So she's a really great wealth of knowledge for someone like me who's interested in the mundane astrology. And I love the current events. And I love all the Venus-led like beauty and money and all that kind of good stuff. And I also love superheroes. So anyway, thank you so much. Join us tomorrow, 10 a.m. Central Standard Time for Astro Insights Live, where I will allow Mel Rose to talk more, and I will be quiet until next Saturday. Thank you so much for joining me today. I appreciate you more than you know.